She's an expert in Bosnian politics at the University of Oxford. Thanks a lot for joining us, Ms. Hronesova. Why aren't you in support of EU membership for Bosnia and Herzegovina?
I am absolutely for EU membership of Bosnia and Herzegovina. That is not the question, and that is not what I have been arguing against. What I have been saying is that this application, which was submitted today, was submitted by a country which is simply not ready. And the reason why it was submitted was to legitimize the elites that submitted the application rather than to show that the country is actually ready. So although I am all for Bosnia and Herzegovina to join the European Union, I think it should join it as a country that is ready, that has fulfilled the conditions, and that has reformed. And that has not been the case of the country. And I think it's a failure of the side of the European Union to keep lying to itself that Bosnia has made significant progress in the past few years, which is simply not the case.
Well, if this could take a decade, why don't you cut them some slack? I mean, wouldn't this force the government to get serious about unemployment, to get serious about poverty, about corruption, about providing basic services? Wouldn't that EU membership as a dangling carrot be a good thing?
It would, but if we look around the region and if we look at countries that joined the European Union or that were given the candidate status, such as Macedonia or Bulgaria, which already is in the European Union, you can see that the EU leverage, as we call it, is extremely inconsistent, but it gets higher before the actual accession. In the case of Bosnia, though, the case is slightly different because the country is going through a different type of reforms than the other countries in the region. You mentioned the British-German initiative from 2014, which basically created a set of reforms that Bosnia should have been adopting. And the way that these reforms have been adopted in Bosnia were in a way of a Potemkin type of reformization. When these reforms are adopted on the paper, sometimes they're not discussed. More often than not, they're not discussed in a public debate, and they're certainly not implemented. And so you actually cannot argue that in the case of Bosnia, you would see this leverage happening once Bosnia submits the application, which was the case today. And we must not forget that the local elections are going to happen in the country in October 2016 this year. And one of those people that actually submitted the application today, the president of the presidency, Dragan Čović, is pretty much using the submission of the application as his pre-electoral campaign.
Jessie Hronesova, thank you very much for joining us.